Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Please together. Om Jnana Timarandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stavitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Rishabhana Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpa Tarubhyastha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So reading from Srimad Gita Upanishad, translation and commentary Srila Prabhupada. Text number 9, is it? Yes? 9, chapter 10, the opulence of the Absolute. Please repeat. Maksita, Madgata, Prana, Podayantaha, Parasparam, Katayantas, Cha, Mam, Nityam, Tushyanti, Cha, Ramanti Cha, Maksita Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Kathayantascha Mam Nityam, Tushyanti Cha Romanti Cha, Maksita Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Kathayantascha Mam Nityam, Tushyanti Cha Romanti Cha, Maksita Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Kathayantascha Mam Nityam, Tushyanti Cha Romanti Cha. Okay.
Machita Madgata Prana,
Bodhayanta Parasparam, Kathayantascha Mam Nityam, Tushyanti Cha Romanti Cha.
Machita Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Kathayantascha Mam Nityam, Tushyanti Cha Romanti Cha. Machita Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Kathayantascha Mam Nityam, Tushyanti Cha Romanti Cha. Machita Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Kathayantascha Mam Nityam,
Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Please repeat. Matchita.
Matchita.
Their minds fully engaged in me.
Their minds fully engaged in me.
Matgata prana.
Matgata prana.
Their lives devoted to me.
Their lives devoted to me.
Bodhayanta.
Bodhayanta.
Preaching.
Preaching.
Parasparam.
Parasparam.
Among themselves.
Among themselves.
Kutayanta.
Bodhayanta.
Talking.
Talking.
Cha.
Cha.
Also.
Also.
Mam.
Mam.
About me.
About me.
Nityam.
Nityam.
Perpetually.
Perpetually.
Tushyanti.
Sushanti.
Become pleased.
Become pleased.
Cha.
Cha.
Also.
Also.
Romanti.
Ramanti.
Enjoy transcendental bliss.
Enjoy transcendental bliss.
Cha.
Cha.
Also.
Also.
Translation, Srila Prabhupada. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Please repeat. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service. And they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Purport Srila Prabhupada. Pure devotees whose characteristics are mentioned here engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself, and in the mature stage they are actually situated in love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe, and out of them there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get a chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed, and if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and if he goes on hearing and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, that seed fructifies, just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual planet of devotional service gradually grows and grows until the spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahmajyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Golok Vrindavan, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as a plant grows fruits and flowers, that plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila chapter 19. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. He cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees, as stated in the Bhagavatam itself, 12, 13, 18. Srimad Bhagavatam, Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. In this narration, there is nothing about material activities, economic development, sense enjoyment or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, just as a young boy and a girl take pleasure in association. So, Makam Karochi Vachalam Pangam Laite Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Sri Gurun Dinatarinam Maksita Matkata Prana Podayanta Parasparam Kadayanchaschamam Nityam Tushyanticha Romanticha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So, this is number 2 of the Chatur Shloki. So the middle 2 chapters are the essence of the Gita. The Gita itself is the essence of all religiosity, transcendental religiosity, and so the essence of these 2 chapters are contained in these 4 slokas. So therefore the essence of all religiosity is in these 4 slokas. So this second one is explaining the activities of the devotees. The philosophy of the Vedas, as given by Lord Chaitanya, is Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan. Sambandha means knowledge of relationships, Sambandha. And then Abhideya means those devotional activities on the basis of that Sambandha Gyan. And then Prayojan is the necessity, the goal. So these slokas, they explain that. Also interestingly, the Vedanta Sutra, which is extracted from the Vedas by Vedavyas, that is in 4 khandas. Khanda means corner or chapter, section. So the 4 khandas of the Vedanta Sutra are also Abhideya, Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan, and then the 4th khanda of the Vedanta Sutra is called the Moksha Khanda, and that discusses the condition of liberation. So these 4 slokas, they also correspond, we can see, with Sambandha Abhideya, Prayojan, and the state of Moksha. You see, the sloka before this is number 8. So, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. I am the source of everything material. Everything emanates from me and is maintained by me. The wise who perfectly know this Sambandha Gyan, because this is the relationship of everything to Krishna. Everything material and spiritual has come from Krishna. So that is the natural inquiry. Human being naturally inquires to what is the truth. And that inquiry takes the form, primarily, what is the origin of this creation? What is the origin of myself? This thought is what occurred to Lord Brahma upon the lotus flower as he had emanated from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And also, even in a mundane sense, everybody wants to know, like especially in India, people, you're traveling anywhere, they say, where you come from? Right? Where have you emanated from? I emanated from England, or I emanated from Greenland, I emanated from Africa, right? And just like this camera, people will look at the camera and then they'll say, who's it made by? Right? What is the creator? Who is the creator of this camera? So that is a natural function, right? If you want to understand something, you want to know the source of origin of that object, that person. So Krishna says, this is the basic understanding, Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha means the interrelationships of the creation. So in the Vishnu Puran, Vishnu Prokta, it's explained that there are many energies of Krishna, but they're divided into three. There is the Chit Shakti, which is a spiritual energy, which is conscious. Conscious, Chit means conscious, Chitta. So it means that energy which is conscious of Krishna, which gives consciousness of Krishna. Then there is the Achit Shakti, or the Maya Shakti, the material energy, and then there is the Vibhinangsa. So Krishna has two forms of emanation. One is called Swamsa, Swa Angsa. Swa means own, Angsa, part. So Swamsa emanation from Krishna is Nrsimha, Varaha, all the innumerable avatars of Krishna. The Bhagavatam starts by saying that there are so many avatars, they are like the waves in the ocean. So the waves in the ocean are unlimited. So the avatars, the expansions, Swamsa of Krishna, we're not just talking about the Chaturvyuha or the Vishnu expansions, but the Leela avatars, Manvantara avatars, Guna avatars. These are all Swamsa. They're his personal. Of course, sometimes they are Shaktivesh avatars. So they are one category of emanation from the Supreme Lord. Chit Shakti is the Swarup Shakti, embodied in Srimati Radharani. Then there is the Maya Shakti, that's also under Durga Devi, who is expanded from Srimati Radharani. But it is considered a separate category because it is Achit. The nature of the material energy is that it gives unconsciousness of Krishna, or forgetfulness. To the nature of the spiritual energy, Maksita, Chitta, is that it gives consciousness of Krishna. But the material energy naturally gives unconsciousness, even at its very root. The Pradhan, which is another name for the causal ocean, that is the transformation of the Chit Shakti. So Mahavishnu is residing within that causal ocean on the bed of Anantasesh, Lord Baladev, and he is emanating all the universes, living entities, Tatastha Shakti, and they are engaged in the Maya Shakti. So the Pradhan is a transformation of the Chit Shakti, but what is that transformation? It is with the admixture of tamas. Tamas means ignorance or forgetfulness. So Mahavishnu is in Yoga Nidra. You can understand in this way, just like when we go to sleep, we forget our waking identity, at least to some great extent, of course. And we are in a lower state of consciousness. So Mahavishnu in Yoga Nidra, upon the bed of Ananta Sage, he's emanating the Chit Shakti, but in a lower state, the Pradhan. So that Pradhan transforms into all the material elements. But all those material elements, they also carry this intrinsic feature of causing forgetfulness. So the materialist, he's dealing with the energy of Krishna, the material energy, but he's completely forgetful of Krishna. Because that is the nature of the material energy. So it is categorized differently from the Chit Shakti, which gives remembrance of Krishna, naturally. So everything in the spiritual world, everyone is like today's verse, Maksita. They're all conscious of Krishna. But everyone in the material world is always naturally unconscious of Krishna. So, the beginning of becoming conscious of Krishna is that point. Aham sarvasya prabhava. Because ultimately, though we say this is the material energy and this is the spiritual energy, ultimately the material energy is spiritual. Material energy emanates from Krishna, and so it is spiritual. Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha, Lord Brahma says. And so even in the material existence, we can see the manifestation of Satchidananda Vigraha. What does that mean? This is the spiritual energy, the pure spiritual energy is Parapakriti. It is Satchidananda. Lord Krishna himself is Satchidananda Vigraha. Sat means eternal, eternality. Chit means cognizance or consciousness, knowledge. Anand means, of course, bliss from tasting different rasas. And Vigraha means form and personality. So, actually, Krishna is manifest in the material world directly. For example, Sat. This material world is existing, is it not? Sat means eternality, existence. So, we are existing. There was one philosopher, Descartes, French philosopher, he said, I think, or meaning I'm conscious, therefore I am. Meaning that I know I exist because I'm consciously experiencing. I think, therefore I am. That was his basic idea. So that is the Sat aspect of reality. Reality is, right? This room is, the road is, the motor cars are, the air, the birds. Everything is, it exists. Nobody can deny that. So that is the Sat aspect. But then we also see in the material world, people are conscious. So Chit is manifest, right? Things are not just existing, but like Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. I am conscious, therefore I exist. So out of existence, who is to evaluate or experience that existence but a conscious entity? Unless there is a conscious entity aware, then where is existence? So out of existence comes consciousness. It requires consciousness. So it is an aspect of the Parapakriti. So we see consciousness in this world, right? And then what are we conscious of? We're conscious of the different rasas. Neutrality, servitude, friendship, parental, conjugal, laughter, astonishment, chivalry, compassion, anger, dread, and ghastliness, 5 primary rasas. then 7 secondary. Then there are 33 given by Rupa Goswami, Sanchari Bhavs. Sanchari Bhavs are also called Vaibhavs. They are impelling aspects. So these are all the different rasas, and the conscious entity experiences anand or bliss or happiness or good feeling, you can say, by tasting these rasas. If we don't have any enjoyment or taste, we become bored, right? We want to talk to our friend. We're experiencing Sakhya ras, right? So in this way, laughter with our friend, we are experiencing different rasas. This causes anand. So anand comes out of chit, you can say. First there's existence, then there's consciousness of the existence. What are we conscious of? The different rasas in this existence, even though it's material. And who is experiencing this rasa? It is the personality, vigraha. Personality, form and personality. So we also see that ingredient, that there is not just abstract or formless rasa that we're experiencing. We're experiencing form and personality, through personality. So therefore, the spiritual energy, which is Satchitananda Vigraha, having emanated, non-different from the Supreme Lord, is also there manifest within the material sphere. And that is self-evident. So we can understand when Lord Brahma says Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha, that applies to Krishna and his creation. Sat, this creation is existing, there is consciousness manifest, there is experience of ananda, taste, and they're experienced by people, and there is form to that personality. So everything is spiritual ultimately, but this material energy is given to the living entity because he wants to live in a rebellious state under Tamishra. That is the 5 coverings given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. First covering is Tamishra. Tamishra means anger, rebellion against Ishvara Parama, the supreme position of Krishna. So it is the rebellion. We've talked about this a number of times, that why do some souls, the Tatastha Shakti, enter the material energy into the lower state? Because they rebel against what? The particular aspect of Krishna or Vishnu that they rebel against is his superiority. Therefore, in the Rakshasa or the supreme demon, embodied in like Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, they want to kill Vishnu. Want to be the supreme. I will kill Vishnu and I will be the supreme. So this is the ultimate expression of this Tamishra. Then under Tamishra, Tamas, Moha, Maha, Moha, the 5 coverings. And you want to under Tamishra means this fearfulness. As soon as you reject Krishna, Ishvara Parama, then through this rebellious mode, Tamishra, then you enter into under Tamishra, second form of Tamishra, which is fearfulness. So this is Kuntaloka, right? Spiritual world is Kunta, Vaikuntara, without Kunta. Kunta means anxiety. So in this material world, people are experiencing anxiety because by attitude they are not connected in consciousness to Krishna. They're in the Maya Shakti, in forgetfulness, in the Achyut Shakti. So at the root of everyone's consciousness in the material world is anxiety. So therefore they take intoxicants and drugs, particularly ones that reduce anxiety. let me drink, let me take opiates, so I lose my anxiety and enter into this pool of relaxation. Let me get rid of the kunta, the anxiety. Of course, that is not the solution. So that is under Tamishra. They enter, and then tamas. So it's also the third covering of the covered material living entity. The living entity, spiritual, but it becomes materialized in that sense. Is tamas means forgetfulness, just like tamas. Like I say, the pradhan is the chit shakti with a touch of tamas, forgetfulness. So tamas means they forget their spiritual identity and they think, I'm this material body, I'm this material mind. The solution is to satisfy this mind and body. So that is third covering. Then, because they forget spiritual identity, moha. Moha means illusion. Then moha comes along and they're thinking, I'm this body, and they identify with this body, and they're tamas, they're already forgetful of their spiritual nature. So moha means they adopt this identity of this body. And then moha is great illusion, is that because they try to enjoy the material energy, they become in this enjoying mood, not in the way to use this material energy to offer to Krishna in yajna, but they come under the law of karma, and even though they're trying to enjoy everything by getting money, getting position, dhanam janam sundarim, they never get any satisfaction in a true sense, but they become bewildered. I'm working my whole life and I'm doing this, my children have left me, I'm an old man and nobody cares about me, and they become completely illusioned and suffer in this way. So that is the material energy. However, it is connected to Krishna. So Krishna says, if you understand how the material energy is related to me, how the spiritual energy is related to me, and the relationships between the Vibhinangsa, that is the second expansion. Vibhinangsa means separated part, it means minute part, anu. Krishna is Parama, the Paramanu. But Vibhinangsa means separated. How are we separated? Everything is Krishna. Separated in the sense we have been given independence. We can perform sankalp, vikalp. The mind thinks, feels, and then it decides, I will do this, I won't do that. So that separation of will, it is a minute form of the Kriya Shakti. Krishna has Kriya Shakti in abundance. He can do anything. Satya Sankalp, the Upanishads say about Krishna. That means that whatever he decides, his Sankalp, that becomes truth. So if you want something to happen, it's very simple. You don't have to do it yourself. You have to convince Krishna it's a good idea. And if Krishna thinks that's a good idea, then it will happen. Because Satya Sankalp, whatever he decides, that will happen. So this is a very secret, mystical thing. It's revealed to the devotees. But the devotee, by his bhakti, captures the heart of Krishna. And so, one of the conditions given, there's 8 conditions of liberated soul, given in Upanishads. One of them is Satya Sankalp. Because this Vibhinangsa quality, this Kriya Shakti, this independence choosing, Krishna becomes subject to that for his devotee, out of his love for his devotee. So the devotee wants something and Krishna, well, yes, let me do that. But the devotee never bears upon Krishna, let me exploit Krishna's generosity. he just wants to give to Krishna. He doesn't want to become the boss of Krishna. But just like they said, like it is said, Radharani is the controller of Krishna. He's Ishvara Parama. He's the Supreme Lord, but Radharani is the boss. Right? Krishna is controller of everything, but he's controlled by the bhakti of Radharani. So bhakti is more powerful in that sense than Krishna, because Krishna becomes affected. He becomes the servant of his devotees. Of course, he's the servant of everyone in the sense Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Yo Didadati Kamam. That's also Upanishad. That he is fulfilling everyone's desire. But he becomes, just like Vamana, he becomes the doorman of Bali Maharaj. Because of the surrender of Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj gave everything to Krishna. So then Krishna said, now I have to become your servant. Huh? So we don't go to Krishna like Dhruva Maharaj, I want a big kingdom. You can do that. And Krishna will fulfill the desire, ye tamam prapadyante. But Lord Chaitanya, he is taught this unmotivated anandmaya bhakti. We don't go to Krishna, so some material fruit or something. Our fruit is just the satisfaction of Krishna. Let Krishna be pleased by our service. So we must always remember that and not bear upon Krishna, asking Krishna for things. Krishna says, Yoga Kshema Vyamyaham. I will supply everything my devotee needs. So we should take that at face value. If Krishna says, I will support you, then we should not worry about maintenance, but we should just ask for the opportunity to serve Krishna and Krishna's devotees. That is the teaching of Lord Chaitanya. Nadanam nadanam nasandaram kavitam bada girisha kame. I don't even want freedom from birth and death. Janmani janmani ishwari. I don't care about that. Just let me serve you, Krishna. So that is taught in today's verse. But we're talking about number 8 here. So if the person, the devotee, understands that everything has emanated from Krishna, all these different qualities, the Chit Shakti, the Achit Shakti, the living entities, the Vibhinangsha, and people understand, the Vibhinangsha, he is spiritual, but because he's minute, and by the arrangement of the Lord, he can become covered by the material energy and the relationships in this way. If this is understood, then Krishna explains what happens. So this is Sambandha Gyan. The wise that perfectly know this, engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their heart. So once you have proper Sambandha Gyan, and the basis, like we said before, everything has come from Krishna. And everything is under the control of Krishna. He may be working through the devatas, he may be working in this way, but ultimately, Krishna is supreme controller. They only have potency by his grace. He has given them potency, but he is supervising everyone. Paramatma. Upadrista Anumanta. He is, Upadrista means Upadrista, overseer, seeing everything, and Anumanta, permitter. But some people think, he knows everything, therefore he's doing everything. No, that's not correct. He doesn't interfere with the Vibhinangsha living entity. Just like you may know so many things, but it doesn't mean to say you're doing it. Tomorrow you know the sun will come up. Does that mean you made the sun come up? So Krishna knows, yes, from the position of Savagyan, He knows everything. He knows everything, but it doesn't mean to say He made you do it. Huh? Just like I'm sitting on a mountain and I see a train and I see a tunnel and I see, oh, the train is going to go into the tunnel. So I know that. I know the future. Did I make the train go in the tunnel? So Krishna, Upadrishta, means He sees everything, but He's fulfilling the desires of everyone. Those desires, the fulfillment is dependent upon Krishna. That means Anumanta. He's the permitter. Eko yo didadati ma. So if this is all understood, Sambandha Gyan, then Krishna is everything. Everything is emanated from Krishna. So let me worship Krishna. So Abhideya. So that comes to today's verse. Right? Maksita. Right? That means become conscious of me. Always think of me. So this is reference to in Navavida Bhakti, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, you know. So of those 9 processes of bhakti given by Prahlad Maharaj in the Bhagavatam, the first 3 are considered the most powerful, if you like. Hearing, chanting and remembering. So Maksita, always thinking about me. Sita means conscious of me. So the devotees are gradually transformed into purified Chit Shakti. And therefore they know everything in that sense. That they are all in the energy that gives remembrance of Krishna. The Achit Shakti gives forgetfulness and therefore tamasic, guna, rajagun, sattvagun. But the spiritual energy gives remembrance, consciousness of Krishna. So makchita, smaranam. They're always thinking of Krishna. Makgata prana. So Prabhupada said in the purport that just like a fish cannot live without water, so the devotee becomes so attached to Krishna that he cannot live without Krishna, without thinking of Krishna. Huh? And so, like we were just saying at the beginning of the class, when Krishna left Vrindavan and went to the wrestling arena, the residents of Vrindavan, couldn't hardly live, of course. So of course this is Mugdha, this is the Leela, Krishna's Leela Mayi. They enter into this rasa of anxiety. So prana, the very life energy, they cannot live. Just like a fish cannot live without being in the water, so the devotee cannot live without remembrance of Krishna. He becomes so anxious. Even in the material world, young man, young girl, they fall in love, they feel this overwhelming attachment. You're the only one for me. They write pop songs. But then next week it's somebody else is the only one for me. Anyway, like that. So that is the material reflection. But the devotees, more intensely, they are attached to Krishna. So Bodhayanta, what's that? Preaching. That means they enunciate the nature of Krishna and Krishna's devotees. So that is Shravanam, that is a reference to Shravanam. So the devotees, they produce hearing for all they give hearing. And then Kathayantascha mam nityam. Yes. So Katha, that means Kirtan. Kirtan doesn't mean just chanting, but Kirtan is also glorification of Krishna's Nam, Rupa, Guna, Leela, name, form, qualities, pastime. So pastime, Leela, also includes Sangha, the associates of Krishna. So, Kathayanchastamam Nityam means they're always discussing Krishna and Krishna's devotees. So they're always conscious of Krishna in their heart. They're always hearing from one another. They're always giving their realization. Right? So these three are considered the primary of the nine functions, Navabida Bhakti, Shravanam Kirtana. And they're part of course, Bhagavat Marg. So today's verse is that, it's Abhideya. Once you have Sambandha Gyan, you become liberated by that, and then you enter into consciousness of Krishna through Abhideya. Prabhupada gives an example to illustrate that. He says, just like two business people, they meet together and they say, look, you have got metal pipes and I've got money and I need metal pipes. So you deliver so many metal pipes and I will give you this payment schedule and you will deliver at this schedule. And then they do it. So first they make arrangement and then they act according to that arrangement. So Sambandha Gyan, Siddhanta, the perfect conclusion, perfect understanding of Krishna and Krishna's energy is very important, because then we can act properly. The persons that read, say like Dasa, the 10th canto, and they do not have proper Sambandha Gyan, then they may enter into concocted forms of bhakti. Like they may dress as gopis and think this will be attractive to Krishna. Sometimes you see in Vrindavan, and sometimes people, they don't understand sadhana properly, so they think that by imagination I will enter the association of Krishna. So of course we should respect. They're all devotees, they're all coming to Krishna. But without Siddhanta, without perfect understanding, you will make your own understanding. Therefore, Acharya Upasana, you must study the words of the big Acharyas, the great Mahajans, Shastra, Sadhu, Acharya. You must understand bhakti from the great accomplished 6 Goswamis, so on and so forth. And then you get the right understanding, Siddhanta. Then you will act accordingly nicely. You will be able to do Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padana, Sevanam, Achanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sagyam. You'll be able to do that properly because you know. And also that knowledge is so potent, Sambandha Gyan, that you become liberated. Like we chant at the beginning of every class, Om Jnana Tamarandasya. And it's also repeated here, Jnana Dipena Bhasvata, that the lamp of knowledge, I worship my spiritual masters who have enlightened me by shining the lamp of knowledge in the darkness of ignorance. So it doesn't matter how long you've been conditioned, just like a room may be dark for 1,000,000 years, because all the windows and doors are closed. But in one moment you light a match, the darkness is gone. So the knowledge of Krishna conscious, spiritual knowledge, is so potent that immediately people become enlightened. So what to speak of somebody who studies from the Acharyas closely, worships Krishna in this way by hearing from the Acharyas, then Krishna becomes very pleased. That person is paying attention. So now I can pay attention to him. Because it's not Krishna's desire that we go into the cycle of birth and death in the material Achit Shakti. But he permits, because that is our sankalp, our determination. So the devotee's job is to give knowledge, to shed light in the material world. And then people, this is very interesting. So that knowledge overpowers the forgetfulness by giving remembrance. And particularly, the business of the devotee is to know Sambandha Gyan and convey it to the neophyte, the learning devotee, the learning person. And then Abhideya. And then what's the result of Abhideya? They derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So if you want to know who is a devotee, who is good association, you can apply that. They're always talking about Krishna because maksita matkata prana. Their mind is always on Krishna. So what else can they talk about? Right? Just like people, they talk about football because they're always thinking about football or cricket or whatever. So devotee is conscious of Krishna, so he's always seeing everything in relation. Therefore, Sambandha Gyan, which gives enlightenment, freedom from the Maya Shakti, freedom from the darkness, gives liberation automatically, the potency of spiritual knowledge. So the Acharyas therefore expanded the knowledge and made it available. So, Vedescha sarve aham eva vedya. That by the Vedas I am to be known. The Vedas and the ancillary literatures like the Gita, Upanishads, they're part of the Vedas, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the writings of the great Goswamis and the great Acharyas, the Vedanta Sutras, they always write. So through these literatures, Krishna is revealed. We talked about this many times. You don't have to perform great austerities, and so on. If you do that, that's okay. But the most powerful way to become enlightened is by simply studying Acharya Upasana, by worshipping the discourses of the Acharyas. So, that's Abhideya. Then like we say, Prayojan, right? Then you practice Abhideya nicely, in a steady manner, and then you will gradually attain Prayojan. Prayojan means the goal of life, but it also means the necessity. So that's very instructive. Yes, we have a goal, Krishna Prem, but it is necessary. You understand? Just like now's winter season, you can have an electric fire, but if you don't, it is necessary to plug it into the electric source, or else it's useless, right? Of course, that often happens. The Vrindavan, the electric supply goes off. So that's like being in the material world. But when there's supply, then that's like the spiritual world. So every Vibhinangsa soul, if he's not connected to Krishna through bhakti, is like an electric fire that is useless. It's not connected. So it's a necessity. Krishna Prem is necessity. Or else the soul does not flourish. The soul becomes mahamoha. He becomes bewildered, overwhelmed by the material energy. And that is a very terrible thing. So the necessity, the goal is necessary for the proper expression of the living entity's nature, the Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Like we say, because that is the nature that we can see manifest, but the soul is in the condition of asat. That doesn't mean say non-existent. It means no, he's changing his situation, his identification. One life he's a man, then he's a woman, then he's a dog, then he's an Eskimo, then he's a bird, then he's an albatross. So he's asat, temporary existence. Ajit, he's in the unconscious state. Niranand is getting paltry amount of pleasure in the material energy, like a drop of water in the ocean, desert. And Nirvigraha, his form, his personality is in flux because he's given a jacket of a false identity. So it is necessary to overcome that by connecting to Krishna. So, then in chapter 10, Krishna, we can understand, gives the prayojan. You see this? Tesham satada yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Dadami buddhayogam tam yenamam upayantite. Right? So priti purvakam, here it is. Loving ecstasy. So that is prem bhav. That by connection with Krishna, just like the electric fire becomes vibrant, warm, right? So the devotee in connection with Krishna becomes vibrant, and the true nature of the soul is manifest. The swarup, the spiritual form of the living entity. What is that verse, Bhagavatam? Muktir hitavan yata swarupena avishtati. That mukti is not just freedom from the material energy in a sense, it is the manifestation of the swarup, the intrinsic, the natural spiritual form. So the living entity is like a seed. A seed has a tree in it. It may be a banyan tree, it may be this and that, it may be different. So every living entity has swarup, his own spiritual form. But in the material energy, that swarup is not manifest. So it is necessary to connect with Krishna. Then that swarup will naturally manifest. Just like now is springtime. So the sun is becoming stronger, it is making the plants grow. They are coming from seed form into their real condition. So everyone has spiritual form. It is intrinsic to the soul, just like the tree is intrinsic to the seed. But it has to be in the right condition. So that condition is abhideya, the practice of bhakti. And then the swarup will naturally manifest, sevabhav. So it says here, actually it was in the previous verse, you see this? Yes. Yes, so that bhava, that priti purvakam, that loving ecstasy, bhava bhakti, at the state of bhava bhakti, then the soul expresses swarup in relationship to Krishna. If you try to manifest your swarup without realizing Krishna, that is wrong idea. Just like when the sun comes up, if you experience the sun, everything is revealed. So when Krishna is realized and our relationship, then our relationship to Krishna is realized. Our swarup is manifest in bhava bhakti. So, priti purvakam, didami buddhi yogam ya yena mam upayantite. So I give the intelligence, buddhi yogam. That, what is that? That buddhi yoga is also bhakti yoga, but in the period of sadhana, Krishna is using buddhi yoga. That means buddhi means intelligence. What is intelligence? It means to discriminate. This is good activity, this should not be done. Sankalp vikalp. So therefore, Krishna gives that intelligence, but you have to decide. You understand? I give intelligence, but you must make the right sankalp. So therefore, sadhu sanga, sava shastra hoy, lavamata sadhu sanga, sava siddhi hoy. If you stay with devotees, their association will help you make the right choice. Krishna, Paramatma, Super Soul, Chaitya Guru, he will give you intelligence, what is the right thing to do. But ultimately, you have to do it. Just like you want to play a musical instrument. Krishna will give you all the intelligence, but you have to practice. Right? So knowledge and intellectual understanding is good, but then you have to do action. Thinking, feeling, willing, action. Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. They supervise those 4 sections of the living entity. That's their job. There's a Chaturvyuha in the spiritual world, and there's a Chaturvyuha in the material world. So they supervising thinking, feeling, willing, and action. And so they do not interfere with the tiny bit of independence, vibhinangsa, of the living entity. So our thing is to, as Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the path of Sharanagati, the path of surrender. So Krishna, he elucidates the path of Sharanagati, of surrender, to the devotee. Narottam, he wrote that very nice book, everyone should read. Prem Bhakti Chandrika. Is giving light. So Krishna shows the path. Yenamam upayantita. How they can come to me and live in transcendental ecstasy eternally. And then you might say, okay, what about the 4th verse? Well, that is also giving understanding of Moksha Kanda. Just like we said at the beginning of the class. It's 4 Kandas in the Vedanta Sutra. So there's this you can understand here in this 4th Chatusloki. To show them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So the darkness born of ignorance, that is the bound condition, as we explained, Achit Shakti. But I, because they are my dear devotees, I give them knowledge, I give them light, so they never become under the illusory energy. You see? So this is the Krishna's summation of the moksha, state of moksha. Because moksha, like we say, is not just liberation from the Maya Shakti, but it is also attachment to Krishna through Swarup, through bhakti. So this verse here gives the moksha, the conditional, real moksha. Swarupena abhivashtiti. The Swarup is manifest, and then Krishna becomes the ashraya, the shelter of the devotee, and he enlightens and gives all knowledge and ability to the devotee. So Prabhupada started the purport, if you remember, by talking about the stage of the devotee and then the mature. Yes. So we should understand, are we in the mature stage or are we in the immature stage? And we should always underestimate our advancement. If you think I'm an accomplished musician, I can play the sitar wonderfully, then you will practice less. Right? Huh? If you think I'm the best Madanga player in the temple, then you'll say, I've done that. And your ability will lessen. So the devotee is not self-intoxicated thinking, oh, I have achieved so much. He's thinking, I have more to achieve. Just like a great musician, he is always practicing. So a devotee never thinks that I have crossed to the other side of the Maya Shakti. Says, no, I must take shelter of Krishna. I must practice. So with that, Krishna gives enlightenment. With that attitude. And then the devotee becomes more and more realized of Krishna, eternally. Because Krishna is Anant, he is unlimited. So the devotee is always realizing Krishna. So this is here, in that last of the 4 slokas, right? I'll just say it complete for you. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So I give them knowledge of me, how they can attain me. Because that is the desire of the devotee. How I can please the Supreme Lord. So we finish on that point. So this is the Chatur Sloki. If you understand this, then you understand everything. Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita ki jai. But even if you understand everything, you will understand it better throughout eternity. You understand? You may understand music, but the more you practice music, you more understand it. Right? At the beginning you may be tone deaf, can't tune your guitar, you can't sing in tune. But you keep trying and then, you become accomplished. But then you always... So at the beginning of practice, it's so hard, my fingers hurt, I can't do the piano chords properly. So you have to push past that first stage. Then when you have some ability, it becomes enjoyable to play the instrument, right? To play, right? At the beginning it may be a headache. I've done half an hour, that's enough. So, but it's best to do half an hour a day than 5 hours on Saturday night and nothing for the rest of the week. Right? So that means Vaidhi Bhakti is a good solid platform when we're in the stage of sadhana. But we should cultivate rag, you see. And we should cultivate also, like today's verse, devotees that are naturally talking about Krishna. This is how you can tell, right? Like Prabhupada once said, you can tell a fool as soon as he opens his mouth, right? He may look very learned, but as soon as he speaks, then you know he's a fool. Not that we should be arrogant, but so you know the quality of a person by their conversation. So a devotee is always discussing Krishna and the philosophy of Krishna, the Siddhanta. So those devotees you should associate with. Shouldn't just like be gaga. Everyone's a pure devotee. Of course, we should respect everyone, even if they are not accomplished, and we should encourage them. Right? Because that is what the Guru does for us. We don't know anything, right? Just like the children. They don't know anything, but the parents bring them up, educate them. So, any questions?
When a devotee surrenders fully, does Krishna take away the minute independence, or how exactly Krishna deals with it?
Well, like I say, you always have that. Tadami Buddhi Yogam Tami, when I was explaining that, right? That Krishna doesn't interfere with the independence. So, even in the mature stage, the devotee is free to serve Krishna in the way that he feels from the inconceivable nature of the soul. Krishna doesn't want robots. You understand? Krishna has created the Vibhinamsa, living entities, with the same quality as himself, so that, and he's given them independence of determination and activity within the sphere of the creation. It's very restricted in the material energy, particularly if you fall into plant life or animal life. But even in the liberated state, that independence and ability to choose and act in accordance with one's own expression, that is what Krishna wants. He wants to interact with persons who have their own idea and their own personality. You understand? And that way he enjoys. Just like if you pay, say you have a computer and there's a chess game on the computer, right? You can play chess with the computer, but there's no rasa, right? In fact, and when you make a bad move, you take it back, right? So you lose the queen, you take it back. Oh my God, no, I didn't see that bishop. No. So Krishna, he has given us this independence so that we express ourselves in a free way with him. You see the point? And then it's very, just like if somebody has children. At the beginning the child is very much dull, but as the child grows up, the child can reciprocate with the parents, right? As he develops his consciousness. And then the parents, they enjoy seeing their child express his personality and interact, right? They don't want to give birth to robots. So, yes, the devotee is always free to express himself. But like I said, there's 8 conditions of liberation mentioned in the Upanishad. And one of them is that he never desires material things. So he's conditioned in that sense by attraction to Krishna. You see? Just like the lover is conditioned by his love for the beloved, right? Just like the mother, she's conditioned by her love for the child. Child needs feeding, she immediately gives up her sleep and looks after the child. She has independence to, throw the child out the front door, but she doesn't, because she's conditioned by love. So the devotees under Yoga Maya, they are free, but they are conditioned by their love in that sense. And in the same way, Krishna is conditioned by his love for his devotees, like we said in the class. So, in common talk, they say God is love, because in a sense, that prem bhav controls Krishna and controls the devotees. But of course, that is just common talk. Ultimately,